POV, I'm your in-law. I know, sounds like something only the mind could manufacture. Hello there, I am your in-law. Because an in-law would just introduce themselves. You must be my outlaw. So I hear you are pregnant. And honestly, I'm not just hearing it, I can see it now. You have inflated, my goodness. Looks like you're giving birth to a P.E.K.K.A. Anyways, I just wanted to come down here and not really congratulate you on your expansion, but more so congratulate myself on my new child. Your breathing embryo is technically mine, because 25% of its genetic pool belongs to me. The other 25% of it also belongs to me, and the other 25% of it also belongs to me. You're probably wondering, what is the last 25% for? It's just up for grabs, all right? I'm putting it on the black market, letting anybody know, hey, you can have 25% stock ownership of my grandchild. I won't talk to you until I see the thing. So until then, au revoir. Guys, rate me as your in-law out of 10. Feel free to let me know in the comment section how you feel about being in-lawed by me. Now that we're un-POV'd, welcome back, you armadilliest armadillos. In today's video, we are doing something that you totally did not see coming. We are going to be looking at some of the worst in-laws by law. And obviously these are not legally the worst in-laws. I just thought it would make all of this sound a lot more dramatic, but they could be. There hasn't been like this official in-law ranking system where we can see who the worst in-laws are, but I just thought, you know, it would make for a good intro. But before we truly unlock this MP4 file, I just want to make a pretty quick announcement. Every time I wear this hoodie, people are always asking where I have got it from. And I got it from me. Yes, I designed this hoodie. 6'4", super attractive, and also knows how to utilize Adobe softwares. What else can this guy not do? Except start a family. But these pieces of garment will be releasing at 100,000 subscribers. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, which according to my YouTube analytics, a lot of you just witness, but decide not to confirm that you are witnessing. So what I'm basically saying is make sure to subscribe. And I promise you will not be kidnapped at 3:16 a.m. I can assure you that will not happen. Totally would not happen after you subscribe. Can we get on with the video? My mother-in-law has a plan to take my unborn child. I really shouldn't be laughing about this because this just doesn't seem like the type of place you would put laughing emojis. But there are just so many scenarioing in my mind. And I feel like I have to address them before I truly figure out what's going on, because I'm sure what I'm thinking is just a lot worse than what it actually is. All I'm imagining is somebody is 18 months pregnant. Well, 18 months pregnant, if the water hasn't broken, then you might have something else brewing in your womb. But all I can imagine is somebody's overly pregnant and the mother-in-law is just there. Can I touch your umbilical cord again? I want to play tug of war with your umbilical cord again. I don't plan on tugging the umbilical cord out of you and taking your fetus. Why can't we just do regular heists now? Well, to be fair, there was a regular heist the other day, but why are we doing cocomelon heists? Why are we doing baby heists? Also, by the way, I just want to make it clear, I'm aware that the umbilical cord is not external. I know it's an internal thing, like there aren't just umbilical cords sticking out of people like tails. But this is the ahmadelyo channel. We don't want to look at things with proper educational eyes. We want to make sure we can misinform everybody on the realities of pregnancy. I'm due with my first baby in about 2 months, and I'm feeling extremely uneasy about my mother-in-law being around us once she's born. I hope y'all are ready for this. When we first told her I was pregnant, she was overjoyed, crying tears of happiness. Not long after, we moved into a new place and she came to help. She asked to stay for a night or two and ended up staying 2 months straight without ever asking. She basically lived on our couch. As many of you know, those first weeks of pregnancy are tough. Mood swings, exhaustion, hormones. I'll admit, my patience was thin, but she pushed every button. So maybe I wasn't wrong about the umbilical cord thing. Like, she is pressing something. She's pushing a button. Is she pushing the umbilical button? Okay, I don't know where I'm going with this joke. It's not funny. 2 days before my birthday, she completely lost it on me, calling me names, accusing me of trapping her son, telling me to go harm myself. We kicked her out, only for her to show up again, uninvited on my birthday, refusing to apologize. Instead, she told me she doesn't apologize to losers and only makes improvements through actions. Against my better judgment, I gave her another chance because the idea of her being cut off from my baby caused a lot of tension with my husband. Well, you are inflated, so your judgment is bound to be inflated as well. It's not going to be in proper senses. The person that should be using their senses right now is your husband, because his mom seems to be a supervillain. Those are not normal remarks to make to somebody who's pregnant, let alone somebody that's unpregnant. Okay, those of you that are deflated and getting talked to like this, you shouldn't stand for being talked to like that. But clearly she has some sort of resentment towards you because she's saying that you've trapped her son. You put him in some sort of a maze and he's not able to escape from you. So I think she makes it pretty blatant that her issue with you is that you're being with her son. She doesn't like you. And for those reasons, you have to be out. Obviously, your husband is your husband, but he's the one who has to take a stand against his mother. There shouldn't be tension between you guys due to his mother being a very bad mother. Since then, she's constantly referred to my unborn child as my baby, which has always made me uncomfortable. Recently, my brother-in-law's girlfriend told me just how far things have gone. My mill. I know what mother-in-law stands for. I just like saying mill. It sounds funny. So I'm gonna start calling them mills. My mill has been talking badly about me for months, even secretly filming me in my own home and twisting it to make me look bad. She called me a thief for moving cash from our desk to deposit into our shared account. Worse, she's been telling people that my child is hers. The most disturbing part, my Bill's girlfriend told me that my mill has an actual plan to try to take custody of my baby. According to her, my mill intends to create situations that would drive me away from my husband, leaving the baby behind. She would then try to make my husband look unfit to parent as well, giving her a path to go to court for custody. I can't describe how terrifying this feels as a first-time mom. I don't want her anywhere near my baby. I don't even trust her to hold her because in the back of my mind, I fear she might harm her. The problem is my husband and his brother are used to her behavior. She's acted like this their whole lives and they tend to soften and forgive, which lets her keep doing these things without consequence. That makes it hard for me to draw a firm line, especially since it's his mother. Even if it's hard for him to draw the line, even if he's missing two hands, he could still use his feet. The line must be drawn. At the end of the day, your child is your child, and if your husband is unfit to see the threat that his mother poses on your child, that's a big issue. Because this threat is not something that is just threatening you, it's also threatening him as a guardian of somebody's galaxy as well. So even if he wants to think of it in a selfish manner, which I don't think he is, I think he's being put in a very difficult spot, because at the end of the day, that is his incubator. He has some sort of a connection to her regardless, but she's just clearly not a sane person. Now, obviously, before reading this, I thought it was not going to be this bad, but turns out it's pretty bad. Because honestly, after reading this, I would only wish this mill on my worst ill. And ill is just a new word for enemy, I guess. Now, there is a couple of weird things that I didn't really dive into, but firstly, the fact that she's claiming your child to be her child already, I think is very, very strange. Like in my culture, my grandma used to call me her baby and whatnot. That's typical granny things. And it was pretty clear that she was my grandmother because she'd make me cookies at like 2:30 a.m. at night. And nobody does that except your grandmother. So I don't think anyone ever saw that as a threat. They just saw it as, oh, that's a pretty normal default grandmother. By the way, if my grandmother is watching this, you're not default, all right? You are the grandest of grandmothers. She's not watching this. But you're going up against a pretty strong force because your mother-in-law has clearly been not normal for an abnormal amount of time, which has hence made her fetuses accustomed to her unnormal behavior, which is obviously the bigger issue because obviously if you see things as an issue, that's one thing. But making sure that your partner and the people around you see that also as an issue is pretty important in this situation as well. Now, I'm never one to say dispatch from a relationship unless you're dealing with a criminal. But based on what you've said, it doesn't seem like you particularly have an issue with your husband. Like, he seems to be a decent husband. If he wasn't, I think you would have probably mentioned that as well. But I think you have to bring it up to him and maybe use the references that you have already referenced in this confession and just kind of bring them forward to him and be like, hey, your brother's partner is telling us your mother's plan to baby heist our baby. And you can even tell him, look, I love that your mom has the Louvre intentions, but that's for the Louvre, not for our child. In-laws, former, have officially lost it. I guess you could say your in-laws are outlaws because they're like not following the law. Are you guys getting it? So first they've placed a picture of what their outlawish in-laws are doing. And before I actually read the signs, like, he just looks like the dude from Up, except he's extremely down. This dude is not winning, clearly. But my message to him would be, aren't you supposed to be in the air with like a minor? Like, aren't you supposed to be, like, isn't your house supposed to be taking flight? Isn't that your thing? You're not supposed to be on Earth with the rest of us fighting your daughter-in-law. That's not what you're supposed to do. We lost our son and grandson due to our daughter-in-law's lies and threats. Our daughter-in-law is a narcissist. Please get some help. You've heard us for too long. The misspellings always cast a spell on me. I hate misspellings when you're waging war. When you are waging war, you are not allowed to misspell. You need to make sure everything is right. That's not how you two that two. That two has two O's. Now, there is an explanation as to why the dude from Up is doing this. But before we read the explanation, I would like to just kind of impose my assumptions on him because that would be the mature thing to do. You're not homeless, so why are you on the street acting like a TikTok liver? You're begging like we can give you a galaxy. What do you want us to do for you? Like, you're not even asking for a service. It's not like, guys, help us raise funds so we can take our daughter-in-law to therapy. Like, you're protesting something that even if it gains traction is not going to do anything for you. It's not like you're protesting against the government or causing a nuisance. You're just causing a nuisance to your family tree. And this would make sense if like all of your family tree lived in the same neighborhood and you're trying to bring awareness to the other branches about your daughter-in-law. But I'm assuming you're not. You're just on a random street protesting your despicable daughter-in-law. And let's see if she's truly despicable. So I posted in this group along with a couple others several months back in regards to my toxic in-laws and their bad behavior. You can refer to my post history for reference, and I hope you do so you can gather as much context as possible. I'm not going to refer back because that's too much work. So we're just going to work with what we got here. We ended up going completely no contact with them earlier this year, indicating that we would reach out when we felt ready to allow them back into our lives. There was no timeline on this. They didn't like that. And I do not owe them that after all they've done to me and my family. Even during this no contact period, they have continued to do inappropriate, bad things, showing up at our house unannounced, showing up at my husband's workplace unannounced. Regardless, my son's first birthday is coming up and I have been struggling with whether to open up the lines of communication again and allow them to see him, only ever on my terms and never on theirs. My gut has been telling me it's too soon. I still don't trust them and it still doesn't feel right having them around me or my son. 2 days ago, my husband and I were driving home from work at 5 p.m. and this is what we see standing at a busy intersection 2 blocks from our home. So now she's referring to the picture of her Up in-law. I need to learn that guy's name. I can't just keep calling him Up. I'm still in shock. My husband is still in shock. We are so hurt and appalled by this behavior and it just won't shake. I've never experienced 2 worse human beings in my entire life and I can't believe I'm related to these people. You know what they say? Sometimes the people you're most related to are the people that you're most unrelated to. Shakespeare, I think, said that. Actually, he didn't say it. I said it, and I have him shaking. So apparently her Phil, her father-in-law, decided to stand out. This guy needs a job. You know, he might be retired or on the verge of becoming a sedimentary rock, but this relic needs employment, okay? Somebody introduced him to LinkedIn. I know they didn't have that back in his day. They just used to see job postings on petroglyphs, but it's time for this dude to get some shillings. This is just severe signs of needing something to do. You're on your son's street, dropping a diss track on your daughter-in-law. How is that going to make things better? And that's my question. What did you think was going to happen? Did you think your dill was going to see this and think, they have a point. I need to go get help? No, she's seeing this and thinking, you need to get help and you need to be in a mental asylum. My monster-in-law used our miscarriage to make herself the victim. Fiance thinks I'm overreacting. And just by reading this title, I think you're underreacting because that fiance should be un-eanced. Why is he still in your realm? Using somebody's miscarriage as your carriage is probably bottom of the barrel. I don't think it gets lower than that. We've been in no contact with my fiance's mother for 2 years. She's a textbook narcissist, manipulative, boundary crushing, and incapable of seeing beyond herself. Every interaction with her is drama, guilt tripping, or manipulation. She's sent emotional tirades to the family WhatsApp, turned the smallest things into chaos, and has always made it clear that she sees me as a threat to her control over my fiance. The breaking point back then was after a family trip where she bombarded us with messages blaming me for isolating her, saying things like I was cold, heartless, and destroying the family. She even sent a massive rant to the group chat attacking me directly. My fiance confronted her and her response was silence. Literally, she gave him the silent treatment for months and then reappeared like nothing had happened. Since then, she has pretended I don't exist. No hello, no acknowledgement, like I'm invisible. So we cut contact. And honestly, those 2 years without her were the most peaceful, of our relationship. We could breathe again. Earlier this year, we got pregnant. I love when people say that, we got pregnant. Just imagine two people inflating. Like, you just made it sound like you're twinning with your partner. Look at us, we're both inflatables. I feel like if you have beef with his mother, this would be a good time to kind of see if he's truly going to be the dude that you think he's going to be. Earlier this year, we got pregnant. Given everything, we chose not to tell her. That moment wasn't hers to have. It was ours. We wanted to build a new chapter for our family, not one she could infect with her toxicity. Now, obviously, I could tell this is going to be a serious situation. So before we get serious, let's make some jokes. I love the way you have written all of this out. I don't know if this is AI generated or not, but I just think it's quite funny. She's going to infect our baby with her toxicity. That makes it sound like your mill just has a toxic seasoning that she sprinkles on people she despises. Where is your child? I want to massage it with baby oil. Mill, I told you, do not season it with your toxic turmeric. How did you know about the toxic turmeric? Anyways, let's move on to the more seriouser stuff. Then we lost the baby. It was devastating. Grief like that changes you. It changes your relationship. It breaks something inside you that you can't fully explain. And then somehow she found out. Not from us, of course. And her very first reaction wasn't compassion. It wasn't, I'm so sorry. It was, you're blaming me. She's selfish. Maybe God didn't want you to have the baby. See, that's how you know somebody is clinically insane. When they start speaking on behalf of God. Whenever somebody speaks on behalf of God, it's typically not a good sign. But I feel like the signs were pretty apparent before this. She's mad about you having a miscarriage it is the final straw. But that doesn't mean that there weren't other straws available. She has shown her cards, I think, pretty repeatedly. I'm not paraphrasing. She said those exact words. No empathy, just centering herself, playing the victim, and even daring to frame our miscarriage as divine punishment for our choices. I heard the audio and something inside me snapped. Not just anger, pure rage. Who does that? Who weaponizes someone's miscarriage to make themselves the victim? So I told my fiance, no more. This time for real. Hard boundaries, not maybe she'll change energy, not let's just avoid her for now. I needed him to block her, cut her off, and never let her feed on our grief again. And he said I was overreacting. Now, clearly your fiance doesn't have great emotional intelligence. I think he's pretty emotionally unintelligent, because the last thing you want to tell somebody that has just lost their child is you're overreacting. You don't want to tell them anything about their reactions, because that's somebody that's going through a very rough time. So what they need in that moment is reinforcement. They need positivity. They need support. You need somebody that is going to put a plethora of protons around you. But let's eliminate the fact that this is your mother-in-law. If anyone was to make fun of you for having a miscarriage, I'm pretty sure any dude who's with you in that relationship would want to make sure that person stops interacting with oxygen. And if they don't have that feeling towards someone like that, they either don't like you or don't like their child, which makes them not a phenomenal human being. Again, I think he's put in a pretty tough situation considering your mill is his mom, but it doesn't change the fact that she is an absolute supervillain. And I can understand why you would want to build tariffs around your relationship with her and his relationship with her. My opinion, she needs serious mental help, because I don't think somebody takes somebody's miscarriage and adds it to their arsenal of weaponry. I think if you are going to inflate for anybody, that person should have a ring on your finger. That's my belief. I cannot understand why you would commit to somebody by having a child that is shared genally between you guys if they have not shown that they are committed to you. And as sad as this situation is, and obviously you not having the child is very, very sad, I think it's a good time to reflect about what kind of a man your fiance is. Is he truly the man that you want to have next to you, or is he somebody that you want to have planted very, very far away? Because this is his family as well. And if he can't take his foot and stomp it on the ground, I think it's a pretty good signal of how he's going to be like later down the road. My in-laws keep trying to take my newborn away from me. I need to vent. What is up with Mills and Phils just finessing children? Why are we just that's my thing. I'm supposed to be kidnapping the children, not you guys. My Mills' first suggestion after I gave birth was that I should leave him with her so she could look after him without me. When I chose to stay in my room to bond and heal, my Phil kicked me out of their house when my baby was 2 weeks old. Apparently, I had ruined their moment. And before I left with my son, she told me to leave my son and go. While I was in labor, my Mill kept kept calling me. She even got offended that I didn't answer. When I picked up 2 hours after I gave birth, she couldn't stop going on about how offended she was that I didn't pick up her phone. She was busy giving live updates about my labor to people I barely know. She later complained that I wouldn't let her visit me in the hospital or come into the delivery room. Once we were home, she kept criticizing everything. How I held my baby. This sounds like a Darman episode. This is not real. This is the stuff Darman comes up with. I told you to do croissant form. The way you're holding him is pretzel form. If you want his head to resemble a perpendicular angle, keep doing what you're doing. I'm telling you the method that I used with your husband. And look how he's turned out. Just a perfect amalgamation of acute angles he is. He's just heading in all of the different directions. Are you the Pep Guardiola of babies? You're just giving tactical analysis on how people should be dealing with their fetuses. Just imagine she's trying to feed him and her milk is just there like a GoPro.
I don't think he likes drinking you. He should probably drink me.
And why is she giving play-by-play updates about your labor? For me, that's the biggest red flag. Like, obviously, she's clearly out of her depth here. And she's just somebody that seems to be completely out of touch. Giving people play-by-plays on people in labor, criminal behavior. You are a criminal. She went to this restaurant one time, and she clicked with the waiter. And somehow she has her number and she's like, hey, remember I told you my daughter-in-law is spherically gifted? Well, yeah, she's about to be unspherically gifted. And the umbilical cord is sticking out now. So, yeah, I just thought you should know. People like that need healing. People that share their personal details with random people. What happened to you? Who hurt you? Who harmed you? Tell me. Once we were home, she kept criticizing everything. How I held my baby. Why I was carrying him 3 days after birth. Why I wouldn't hand him over so she could play grandma while I did housework. She said I should start pumping after a month so that everyone could feed him. Okay, I was just saying that as a joke, but clearly it's not a joke. She wants to be drinked by her grandson. She even said my baby should call her eldest son's wife Mum. She can't have children. She expected me to keep my 2-week-old in her room and acted shocked and extremely offended when I said no. The cherry on top? My Phil threatened to report me to social services because I didn't let anyone else hold my son. My Mill insisted my husband would listen to her over me when I asked her not to try to change my baby's features. What do you mean change his features? She just doesn't like where his nose is. She just plucks it out and she's like, I think it should be more around the earlobe area. And all of a sudden, he's hearing and sniffing you pretty precisely. She pinched his nose without warning in front of me. So I'm just gonna stop saying things before they all just start becoming true. She pinched his nose without warning in front of me. I asked nicely not to do it again, but she said, my son will listen to me and what I want, not you. You want me to get your nose too? You want me to get your nose too? This is your nose. It's very much alive. You have a tasty nostril system, and you're just noseless. You literally have Pinocchio's dream build. Noseless. No nose system. Her coat reeked of cigarette smoke when she came to pick us up from hospital. She guilt-tripped me for keeping the baby away from her. She continued to smoke in the house after I brought my newborn home. They also made me feel awful for refusing visitors. Apparently telling people no on my behalf was an inconvenience and embarrassing. I'm exhausted, hormonal and still healing. I can't believe I'm defending basic boundaries while trying to nourish and protect my newborn. I ended up doing postpartum alone. It was such a rough time. My baby is nearly 6 months and now we're thriving. The in-laws will never get to meet my son. Am I wrong for choosing to cut them off? Thanks for letting me vent. Now I don't really have much to say other than good on you for dispatching from them because clearly not the people that you want to have around your child. But it just kind of goes to show how important it is to make sure the person that you're with has functioning people around them. And honestly, credits to your husband for being a semi-decent human being despite the people that brought him into this universe. My in-laws refused to let me cook my own steak. Let her cook. Let her cook now. I said let her. We are devolving as a society and I think I'm one of the primal reasons as to why. My in-laws refused to let me cook my own steak and refused to give me a steak less than well done. They're just there creating dinner for everybody. Everyone is going to get sustenance. Wait, John, are you doing Cheryl's steak? Make sure it's very much alive. Make sure we just get the cow straight from there and plant it onto her plate. If she wants well done, we'll just give her not done at all. So they've shared the picture with us. Okay, that is very much alive. That's not steak, that's your health at stake. Got served this disgraceful excuse for a steak at my father-in-law's birthday. Now, we're not gonna call him your father-in-law, okay? He's your Phil. Let's label him properly now. Got served this disgraceful excuse for a steak at my Phil's birthday. Every year I tell them I will cook my own steak because I like it cooked medium to medium rare. Every year I get this. Not only do they cook it well done, but they put it in the oven for about an hour to let it tenderize. Not to mention there's only about 4 grains of salt and half a pinch of pepper on the whole tray of steaks. I don't know what they have against delicious, tender, juicy steak, but my God, they owe that cow an apology. Considering what's at stake, if you eat that steak, I can understand why it's very hard for you to moo on. Get it? Because like cows and moo. Yeah, don't let this distract you from the fact that I have 20
children in my basement.
But it's kind of brought up a very important conversation. What do cow apology videos look like? And I'm not talking about humans apologizing for eating them, because let's be honest, they're pretty tasty. And I just realized some of you might be vegan watching this. If you are a vegan watching this, we don't have beef. You can't eat beef, so we can't have beef. Okay, I'm gonna stop doing the puns. A cow apology video would be something that I honestly would love to see. Like if a cow said like a slur in the cow world, this is what I imagine the apology video would look like. Let's just imagine this is the Logan Paul of the cow world. Sorry, I've just been sat here contemplating my interactions with oxygen. What even is the point anymore? My son-in-law cut a piece of brownie for himself. We are debating if he stays in the will. This is the picture of the brownie. I'm sorry, is your son-in-law a crude? Are you guys the Crudes family? No one can redo this. I don't think you realize. Look at how he's taking the piece out. It can't be achieved with a spoon, a fork. It can't even be achieved with your fingerlings. This level of barbarity cannot be achieved by anybody who's not a Clash of Clans character. So yeah, if you leave him out of the will, honestly, completely understandable. Father-in-law decided to test all my fire extinguishers. Now all need to be replaced. In-laws were watching the kids at my house while wife and I were out. Father-in-law, who's notorious for messing with other people's stuff, decides to test all our fire extinguishers to make sure they work. Big one in the garage, plus kitchen upstairs and wife's car. Now I have to go replace all 4. Look, I want to make fun of this, but I think this is such a father-in-law thing to do. And I think when people get older, like obviously I'm not supporting this behavior because it just seems like a big nuisance. Yeah, it seems pretty annoying to deal with, but this is just a father-in-law thing. I think when people get older and they get bored and they don't know unless he's like young and youthful. If you have a young father-in-law and he's doing this, seriously, jobs. But I'm assuming he's a relic. And I think when people get older and they don't have much to do, they need to start fixing things that don't need fixing. And I'm saying this because I've seen my grandfather do this. We have a fully functioning doorknob. It works perfectly. There's nothing wrong with it. This dude will break it just to fix it. And you know what? We kind of just let him do it. And I know it makes it sound like I'm making fun of my grandfather, but I honestly think I'm probably going to be the same way. I'll probably be going around the neighborhood breaking people's doors and refixing them. But this is a little worse. It's not like he's fixing something. He's just grabbing the fire extinguisher and spraying your children. Okay, he didn't actually spray your children. At least I would hope not. But he's like, hey, little one, is this working? Okay, that one is definitely working. Let me see if I can extinguish all of your siblings as well. So let's go find the other one. Can we normalize just fire extinguishing our Phils? I'm joking. If my future Phil is watching this, extinguish yourself from this video. Why are you watching this? You are not supposed to be seeing my content. Mother-in-law threw away my expensive kitchen knife for being too rusty to use. First off, neither of these pics are of my knife. Both came from Google search, just so I could give examples. The first picture is the exact kind of knife I had. A Zwilling Canron 8-inch chef knife. I didn't buy it because I would never spend that kind of money on a kitchen knife for myself. But my sister and I like to get nice Christmas gifts for each other, and she gifted this knife to me 3 years ago. The second pic demonstrates the size of small rust spots that were on the knife blade. Though there were maybe half as many on my knife as there are in the picture, the rest happened because my wife had used the knife to cut some tomatoes for a salad while I was out and about, and she left the knife on the cutting board without cleaning it. I got home a few hours later to find a number of rust spots on the blade. It's carbon steel, so it doesn't resist rust like stainless. It wasn't a big deal though. I've cleaned rust off metal utensils and appliances my whole life. I had some other more important tasks to accomplish first, so I set the knife on a paper towel against the backsplash so I could come back to it in a bit and give it my full attention. Nothing like a little one-on-one intimate date with a knife, or a rusty knife. When I came back to the kitchen, the knife was gone. I was searching for it for a while before finally asking if anyone had seen it. My wife's mom, who is staying with us for the week, told me she'd seen the knife on the counter and threw it in the trash because it was too rusty to use. And she was protecting us from getting tetanus in our food. Both direct quotes. And of course, she then took the trash bag to the roller bin on the curb to make sure we were safe. And I absolutely would have gone to dig that knife out of the roller bin. But of course, the trash truck came by while I was doing the other things that kept me from cleaning the knife. So yeah, thanks Glennis. Thank you for protecting us. I've never heard a more mother-in-law name than Glennis. That is the most motherly mother-in-law name name known to all mother-in-law names. Everybody wants their mother-in-law to be named Glennis, right? Everybody. Now you clearly have some sort of affection for this knife. You were gonna go on a date with it one-on-one, but you're also willing to dive front lobe first into the trash bag to retrieve it. I guess you could say that wasn't a very knife situation. Speaking of knives, does anybody know where the nearest one is? Mother-in-law scratched my beautiful wood dining table. And that's a picture of the scratched beautiful wood dining table. She came to stay with us and started sliding our table decor saying, "Are you sure you want this on your table? Look! It's scratching it," as she moved it back and forth until I told her to stop. I love her logic. That's how we should test durability. You just go up to her and snap one of her bones and be like, "Should you have bones? Because they're gonna crack. They're crackable. It's just not worth it." That's the methodology we should all have. If you want to test if something is working, make sure to break it to see if it's breakable. Because nothing can ever be breakable. Don't break human beings. I'm not saying do that. Anyways, speaking of scratching things, you should scratch the subscribe button and the like button. If you love me as much as me loves me. Yeah, oh, you thought I was gonna say loves you? No. I am the gnarliest narcissist. I love me-self. On a more serious note, feel free to return to the channel in a couple of days. God willing, I will have another MP4 file out, and trust me, I will pet you in that one. Unless you don't want to be petted. In that case, we'll still pet you. Because that's just the type of people that we are. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and yeah, now that I've begged you to support me, you're probably begging me to end this video. So you're free to go. Shoo.